Welcome to another Railfan Dan production. Enjoy this intro. Sit back and enjoy this lengthy video featuring so many different angles of the marvelous Mount Shasta while watching trains on Union Pacific's Black Butte Subdivision. The Black Butte Sub runs between Klamath Falls, Oregon and Dunsmuir, California. This video was filmed over one day and part of one other morning, so you won't see every location, but you will see Worden, Dorris, Macdoel, Mount Hebron, Penoyar, Grass Lake, Cougar, Andesite, near Bolam, Hotlum, and Mott. I edited this video together in the order I filmed all of the trains, so you will see them in a mixed order. Right away, let's get a good look at the star of the show, really. Mount Shasta, which stands at 14,179 feet tall and is still considered a potentially active volcano. This first location on the Black Butte Sub is Macdoel early in the morning to witness the passing of the northbound Amtrak Coast Starlight on its way to Klamath Falls. I'm not a big fan of the Charger locomotive, so I'm always happy to catch a P-42 on the point. It's springtime at the recording of this video, which in my opinion is the best time to visit. Mount Shasta still has a very nice snow cap from winter previously, as well as some other nearby mountains. It's also when you can catch more green foliage than any other time of the year, which you can't really tell here, but some locations later in the video are noticeably green. Subscribe and hit the bell if you're enjoying. After this, I headed south and caught up with a southbound UP Manifest train led by UP 7529 seen here at Cougar. I luckily had no shortage of trains this day, which can sometimes be the case. This route gets about 12 trains in a 24-hour period, and I caught 8 during this one day, which is more than I could have hoped for. You can also see a mountain here called Goose Nest. The section of the railroad between Grass Lake and Dunsmuir is quite a hill climb, or descent in this train's case. Much of it is a 1.4% grade and reaches all the way up to 2% near Dunsmuir. This southbound is descending at 1.4% here. Now much closer to Shasta and another named Mount Eddy to the left. I was able to get ahead of UP 7529 and shoot it again just south of Bolam with our marvelous backdrop. In the distance, you can see the dry Canyon Viaduct, which we will get a closer look at later in the video. A little later at Hotlum, I caught the southbound intermodal train from Portland to LA, the IBRLC. At this location, you're now seeing part of where the lava fire from 2021 burned much of the region. It burned over 26,000 acres along the slopes of the mountain and also shut the railroad down for over a month. We get a much closer look at Mount Eddy from this spot. In the distance is the town of Weed, which the railroad just barely misses, but the nearby Siskiyou line does pass through the small town. Next, I headed back north to Andesite to set up for a northbound manifest train led by UP 8121, which also met another southbound manifest here in the siding. This is my favorite spot to capture the marvelous Mount Shasta as the backdrop. This train is now climbing that 1.4% grade but doesn't have much trouble. Northbound trains are mostly empty cars while southbounds are mostly loaded. It looks great here from the ground as well, near the north end of the siding. I then continued north to capture UP 8121 again, just north of Mount Hebron. Mount Hebron being the town in the distance as well as the mountain itself even farther behind. are now entering Macdoel here. In this shot, we also get a view of Mount McLaughlin way in the distance. Continuing north and now into Oregon, I got ahead of UP 8121 again one last time and shot it at Worden. At this point, we are the farthest away from Mount Shasta that we will be in the video. It's roughly 46 miles away. After this, I did not have to wait long before another southbound train would depart Klamath Falls, so I set up just north of Dorris back in California to capture it. This one led by UP 7678, which we will see in quite a few locations. The slope of this hill is looking decently green from springtime. Now heading into the north portal of Tunnel 17. This ground shot is just to the right of the tunnel. Continuing with UP 7678, we're coming up on Penoyar. It's about a 1% grade uphill southbound here, so some heavy trains like this one climb the grade slowly. It does make for a nice show as they pass by though. There are a number of named mountain peaks in the distance here, but Garner Mountain is the most notable. Ore Mountain comes into view, which is actually what the railroad curves around to get to this point. More mountains to the left here, including Stephen's Butte, Haight Mountain, and West Haight Mountain. Not 100% sure if I'm pronouncing those correctly. Then the other direction is Little Deer Mountain and Goose Nest, which we saw earlier. It was indeed a nice show from the ground here, with a friendly engineer as well. Next we see UP 7678 again, now at Grass Lake, which is the highest point on the subdivision, around 5,070 feet in elevation. At other times in the year, Grass Lake can be nearly bone dry, but during the spring it is actually a real lake. Evidence of an old wide track can be seen here, which can now be driven on to reach the railroad from the highway. I used it to film the ground shot here. An old water tower still stands here also. Our marvelous star of the show mountain comes back into view here. Now we're north of Hotlum for another catch of UP 7678 in another section that was burned by the lava fire. Our favorite mountain comes into view, as well as the dry Canyon Viaduct. This bridge was badly damaged during the lava fire and needed to be replaced. It took about a month for it to be repaired and rebuilt, which is the reason the line was closed for as long as it was after the fire. There's a little bit of spring green happening here, and this might be as green as it gets for the year. We finally get a look at Black Butte itself here, the reason the subdivision is named so. It appears the friendly engineer noticed me way down here also. There was actually another southbound manifest following right behind this one since Klamath Falls, so I stayed here to capture it also. I did not catch the leader number on this one. Now we are farther south at Mott, back with the previous southbound led by UP 7678. I made a mistake in the short segment video featuring this scene. I had stated the second track here was Mott Siding, but it is in fact a second main track which runs from here north to Azalea. This is a very interesting section of railroad on the Black Butte Sub. Here you're looking at Sawmill Curve, which is a horseshoe curve to help the railroad get up and out of the Sacramento River Canyon. This train is heading downgrade into the canyon. It's a hefty 2% grade here on the railroad, and what's actually happening is two horseshoe curves on the line about 2 miles apart from each other allow the railroad to climb up and away from the Sacramento River. In this image you can see Sawmill curve on the bottom where we are, and then railroad south on the top of the image is Cantara Loop down along the river, which swings the line back around, continuing the same direction it was originally. The Sacramento River comes into view here, as well as the rail line south of Cantara Loop just to the left of the river. From the head end of the train to where the line is down on the river, it's about 4 rail miles in distance. The line is visible again down along the river here. We can also see a number of mountains we've seen before: Mount Eddy, Black Butte, and Shasta. Now we're railroad south of Mott, looking at UP 3012 leading the northbound ZLCTM intermodal train, Los Angeles to Tacoma. It is the highest priority train that runs on this line, and it is approaching Cantara Loop heading up the grade. Cantara Loop is infamous for a derailment and chemical spill in 1991 when the line was still operated by the Southern Pacific. More than 19,000 gallons of soil sterilizer and weed killer leaked into the river, which left a 41-mile wake of destruction from the spill site here to Lake Shasta. More than 1 million fish were killed and at least 32 people were hospitalized. This giant guardrail was installed after that derailment to help prevent future catastrophes. It's a good thing too, because this is still a problem spot for the Union Pacific today. Derailments near and around Cantara Loop are way too common. My plan was to follow the Z train and catch it for a sunset scene back at Andesite, which is exactly what I did and had much success with. This is my favorite scene in this video. It was very nice to get a clean, good-looking lead locomotive on this train and a Tier 4 SD70 to boot, which is one of the less common unit types on UP's roster. I'm also very happy with the ground shot I captured here. This is at the north switch of Andesite sighting, and it's one of the best places to get a shot of Shasta as the backdrop from the ground, and this train sounded good climbing the 1.4% grade. The next morning, very early, I caught one for the history books. We are back at Hotlum with Black Butte in the distance. This is the northbound Amtrak Coast Starlight, and it is being led by Amtrak number 138, which is one of the newly painted Phase 7 GE P42 units. It's the very first Phase 7 P42 to lead this train northbound, and it was a pleasure to be able to capture it along arguably the most breathtaking part of the whole route the Coast Starlight operates. This scene was recorded before 6 a.m. Here's another look at the Dry Canyon Viaduct. Now south of Grass Lake farther uphill with the most grand view of Shasta. Now at Dorris, we catch the starlight one last time after the sun has fully risen. I stayed far back here so that I could be ready when they blasted through Tunnel 17. Tunnel 18 is next, which is less than a mile away from the border of Oregon. If you've enjoyed this video, then consider helping the channel out with a super thanks donation via the thanks button on the bottom of the video. It tremendously helps to continue bringing you quality content like this, but please also do not feel obligated to do so. Your viewership is all the support I could hope for. We will end this video with a shot from along the highway just after Tunnel 17. Thanks for watching, and check out more videos on my channel of cinematic trains.